The situation surrounding Ashes of Creation is described as a profound crisis, affecting not only the game itself but also the studio and the trust of the community. For more than 10 years, the project was seen as a beacon of hope for a new generation of online role-playing games. It promised a living sandbox world shaped by player actions, featuring complex systems such as the node system, dynamic world development, and extensive class mechanics. This undertaking was financed in part through crowdfunding, expensive alpha access packages, and later, early access sales on Steam. In practice, however, a very different picture emerged. Despite years of development, the game remained in a highly unfinished state. Many of the core systems that were supposed to make the game special were either only partially present or not implemented at all. At the same time, the playable version struggled with severe and recurring issues such as item duplication, hacks, exploits, real money trading, and significant performance problems, especially since the launch on Steam. Instead of showing stable progress, the project appeared to be a permanent construction site where urgent problems constantly had to be fixed, while the grand vision seemed to come no closer to reality. At the same time, extremely high development costs were being discussed, along with an unusually large team for what is essentially a niche sandbox game. This imbalance between an ambitious but specialized game direction and massive costs led to doubts about whether the project could be economically viable at all. Critics view the early access launch on Steam in such an unfinished state as a possible attempt to secure short-term capital, while the internal situation may already have been critical. The most dramatic turning point, however, concerns internal events within the studio. The founder and creative lead of the project, Stephen Sharif, publicly stated that control over the company had slipped out of his hands and that he could no longer ethically support certain decisions made by a board. As a result, he stepped down, along with numerous experienced developers, and large-scale layoffs followed. These statements stand in sharp contrast to the image that had been promoted for years: an independent studio run by players for players, without significant external influence. This contradiction is seen as one of the greatest breaches of trust in the entire history of the project. In addition, reports from content creators citing insider sources have circulated. According to these, there were plans to sell the studio, drastically reduce the team, and outsource parts of development. Later, there was even talk of a complete shutdown of the project. Even if not all details are definitively confirmed, the overall impression is that of a studio in serious structural and financial distress. In this context, the question has also been raised whether the project should be described as a scam. This assessment focuses less on the fact that an ambitious game can fail and more on communication. Many supporters invested money believing in transparency, in control by the original developers, and in a project without hidden external power structures. If it turns out, however, that key decisions were no longer being made where they were publicly said to be, then purchasing decisions may have been made on a false basis. This is seen as the true core of the scandal. Beyond this single game, Ashes of Creation is viewed as an example of a broader problem in crowdfunding. Such projects often sell a dream and a vision first, while the actual implementation fails due to technical, organizational, and financial realities. Passion and big ideas are not enough for a game of this scale if they are not accompanied by stable management and clear structures. In summary, the picture that emerges is one of a double collapse, in terms of gameplay and technology through an unfinished, problem-ridden product, structurally through internal upheavals and possible investor conflicts, and emotionally through a massive loss of trust within the community. This puts not only a single game at risk, but also a piece of hope for a transparently developed, visionary player-for-player game that many people followed for years.